So hi everyone, thank you for joining us for this webinar on Esri's Smart Campus platform. My name is Jack Hunt. I work at Esri as an account executive covering education administration for both national and international accounts. My primary focus is to expand our Smart Campus campaign, which provides avenues to various solutions, products, services, and business partner engagements to establish a healthy foundation and implementation for the ArcGIS platform. With me is my colleague, Marco Viola, an account executive for our ArcGIS Indoors team. Marco, you want to quickly introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Jack. How's everyone doing? Thanks for joining us, and I hope we all share our passion about smart campus operations and how to make your campus a smarter one. Like Jack mentioned, I'm an account executive on the ArcGIS Indoors team here at Esri, which falls under our Smart Cities sector. And ArcGIS Indoors is our new indoor mapping system for operations and mobility, which released in March. And over the last decade, really, as we've been providing custom indoor mapping and wayfinding solutions to customers in virtually every market. But as digital transformation continues to evolve business operations, Esri is advancing its technology into this indoor mapping realm to better support all of you.
Excellent, thank you, Marco. So I'd just like to remind everyone that this webinar will be recorded and a link will be emailed later today. So before we dive in, I just want to mention that Smart Campus technology uses location to kind of remove the barriers between people and the technology they rely on for scheduling, accounting, and safety. This also enables users to reduce the time and cost for campus services, maintenance, and utilities through an integrated technology and interface. With the release of ArcGIS Indoors back in March of this year, we're now expanding our campus operations systems to support data translation, indoor wayfinding, and business operations. So before we dive in, I'd like to open our first poll of questions to get an idea of your current role at your institution. Esri's education marketing specialist, Rosemary, is supporting this webinar and hosting our poll questions. So we'll get started with that first question.
Yeah, so we'll just like to get a sense of understanding on who the crowd is, who's with us here today. So we'll take about a minute and a half to give everyone a chance to answer the questions, and then we'll show the results on the screen for all of you to be able to acquaint yourselves as well. Yeah, so Rosemary, once you see that the answers are slowing down, feel free to show the results up on screen. Okay, awesome, nice mix of crowds. No professors today. Good GIS analysts. This is going to be a semi-technical conversation, so I'm sure you'll enjoy. And then for the managers and directors with us today, I'm sure you'll get some very useful information from the rest of the webinar.
Excellent. Thanks, Marco. Thanks, Rosemary. So I'd like to start by talking a bit about my interpretation of Smart Campus.
Yeah. Hey, Jack, it looks like the quick poll is up on screen, so maybe, Rosemary, we can switch back to sharing Jack's screen.
Oh, shoot. Sorry.
Yep, there we go.
There we go. All right. So I'd like to start by talking a bit about my interpretation of a smart campus. So from a GIS perspective, it's about that kind of holistic understanding of campus operations to support better decision making. It's always wise to start with an authoritative base map of the campus to provide a canvas for future data collection and management. At Esri, we recommend to configure before customizing and leveraging existing business systems before completely replacing them. Once operational data begins pouring in, you may utilize Esri's operations dashboard to monitor energy consumption on campus or to identify specific locations to address a problem. Mobile apps like Collector and Survey 123 support ongoing data collection and work order documentation. So these solutions are ultimately designed to attain campus efficiency and sustainability, with ArcGIS as a system connecting them all together. So ArcGIS gives you advanced tools to analyze, visualize, and maintain your campus information across a variety of mapping applications and devices. This diagram represents our Enterprise GIS platform, which is ultimately our foundation for developing and deploying smart campus technology. This includes operations tied to utilities and facilities management, to campus safety, as well as student and visitor experiences like mobile 311 and wayfinding. ArcGIS integrates with your existing business systems and consolidates that data as a common view on a map, integrating with a variety of sources, including sensors, business information, and social media. While also providing a direct connection to your existing campus management systems. So here's just a few examples of the systems we currently integrate with across campuses. So smart campus solutions bring value across all map scales, from a dot on a map all the way into a building and its associated floor plan. Smart campus solutions are used for locating people, places, and things, monitoring real-time information driven by sensor feeds and alerts, planning scheduled maintenance workflows and monitoring safety for events, and ultimately creating and delivering maps across teams, students, and for visitors. For Esri education institutions, we have two forms of ArcGIS software licensing, one for academia and research, and another for administrative use and campus operations. So this map sort of displays the institutions that currently have an administrative license. This, however, does not always mean that they are being used to the full potential, but we are making progress there. So here's a bit of a closer look at 150 campuses approximately 150 campuses that are utilizing their administrative licensing to manage facilities operations on campus. Now let's explore a few campus sites that are bringing GIS into campus planning, operations, and safety. So here we'll focus mainly on public-facing web maps and story maps that have been hosted for stakeholder engagement and transparency to students and the public. At the University of Arizona, the mission is enterprise mapping and sharing. Some of the activities on campus involve visualization and understanding the portfolio, such as the upper left map, which depicts a variety of site and building attributes, including building use and gross square footage. On the lower map, Arizona is mapping living assets, such as all the trees and shrubs, to provide an inventory for groundskeeping, as well as public education in the form of map tours. Similar to Arizona, the University of Maryland is on a mission toward enterprise GIS across their campus operations. And it all began and continues with a curated, authoritative campus-based map. The campus GIS staff at University of Maryland supports students, faculty, and visitors with a variety of mapping applications. So for example, the bottom map highlights an ADA compliant route from the library to the geology department. Besides distance, it also includes elevation changes that the traveler will encounter. In addition to the campus map, the gallery of story maps helps share many aspects of the university for prospective students and visitors. Recently, the GIS team began working on ArcGIS integrations with Tririga, ServiceNow, OSIsoft to sync with their class scheduling system and campus calendar. Many of these applications will not be public-facing, but rather supporting individual departments and initiatives. So Marco is going to cover a little more on the University of Maryland during his ArcGIS Indoors overview.
Definitely.
And that also brings us to our next poll question, this time related to the adoption of ArcGIS Enterprise for campus operations. So Rosemary, I'll kick it over to you. And just like with the last, we'll give about 20, 30 seconds to collect the results and then display them for everyone. All right, so with those results, we can see an interesting mix between, know and not sure as far as deployment of ArcGIS Enterprise. So, for a lot of the folks that are on the call that may have questions regarding Enterprise and kind of the benefits, whether you're just using ArcGIS Online or whether you're, still on ArcMap or trying to move over to Pro, we'd like to kind of have those conversations around, the enterprise environment and kind of, moving in that direction. All right. And Marco, just to test, is it back on my screen?
No, it's still on the quick pull.
All right, give me just a second. How about now?
Yep, good to go.
All right, perfect. All right, so next I'd just like to highlight our campus base maps, which are built and maintained by the Community Maps program and hosted through the ArcGIS Living Atlas of the World. So Esri's campus base map provides operations teams, faculty, and students with instant access to maintain and authoritative content for their campuses. Really all we need is GIS data for your campus, and the Living Atlas team can help you build, publish, and maintain your campus base map free of charge. So there's kind of three major components of this program, and you can access this information through the Community Maps program through Esri's main website. And the three main components are to provide feedback, which is creating a quick area of interest where you can just sketch around something that may not be right, whether it's your community or on your campus, where annotation or particular thing on the map that might be inaccurate or needs to be replaced or identified. That's something where you can provide that feedback. Also sharing data and content. This is something we've been doing for a while, but this allows you to bring your GIS data that you currently have for campus and get that into our topographic base map. And then our newest feature, which came released around springtime of this year, is being able to edit features for the Community Maps program. So as an administrator, you can go in and you can actually digitize, do heads of digitizing across your campus, creating buildings, trees, sidewalks, athletic fields, and that way you can bake that into the topographic map for your campus, keeping things updated if you don't have the GIS data for it, and giving yourself a nice canvas to build on top of your operational data that continues to pour in. So for many universities, mapping utilities is actually, kind of at the top of the priorities list. So visibility to utility networks and maintenance provides that common operating picture for collaboration. So through ArcGIS, water, electricity, and gas utilities solutions are immediately available across maps, apps, and services to support your work. So with campus safety and security, we can quickly locate emergency resources or sketch plans to support a safer campus community. So on the computer monitor here, you can actually see ArcGIS indoors. We're looking at existing fire extinguishers across a building floor plan. Notice that we can also search for other emergency resources like first aid stations. On the tablet to the right, you can see an example of our blue light placement. So this is an application that allows for call box placement, but we can also look at CCTV cameras, placing around campuses. You can get that view shed around buildings or trees or other obstructions and quickly plan out a new project based on placement of these devices. So before we move ahead, I'd also like to just quickly point out our training resources, which include customizable learning plans and continuously updated content to support learning new products or best practices to address common challenges. So all this can be found through esri.com/training. And there's a lot of, there's class schedule, there's ways to filter, free classes or on-site. A lot of really great resources to kind of keep up to date on products, or if you're moving from perhaps from ArcMap to ArcGIS Pro, or just other workflows for new products that are going to be useful. It's really good to kind of keep up to date, get your own learning plans established, and just kind of continue to move forward through these academies. So when more support than training or technical support are needed, so if you're looking at a big implementation on campus for GIS, if you're looking at data conversion practices or system integration, Esri and our extensive business partner network are available to support your next big GIS project and initiatives. So one thing I just want to make clear is don't hesitate to reach out to begin kind of a planning assessment. So with Esri, we have a professional services division that include industry experts, and they lead project initiatives around a variety of challenges, ranging from mapping utilities data to on-site jumpstarts for ArcGIS Enterprise and WebGIS launch kits to get the most from your online data and portal environment. So as I mentioned earlier, around ArcGIS Enterprise, it's kind of our key component to getting the most out of your GIS environment on campus, providing a secure platform that hosts your content on your own infrastructure, while establishing a superior data management and collaboration with other team members. So now let's talk about Esri's new indoor mapping and routing product, ArcGIS Indoors. So for this section, I will hand it over to Marco to discuss ways that ArcGIS Indoors can be utilized to support your campus environment. Marco,
awesome.
Over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Jack. So I opened up a little bit with some information, some overview on ArcGIS Indoors, but first I'd like to know how many of you are currently using an indoor map in your institutions. So it brings us to our next poll question. Awesome. So the majority of you are not using indoor maps. And it looks like some of you are, about 26%. So that's good. It's a nice combination. And let's see how those of you that aren't using current indoor maps, how we can get you started and how you can benefit from it. I think, Jack or Rosemary, you need to make me a presenter. Oh, it's good. Never mind. Is it coming through?
Yes, we could see.
Awesome. Okay. So experience speaking with these users, the ones that Jack mentioned, just in general, tell us that they want indoor maps to help them better allocate and manage resources. And their most valuable resources are their employees and the assets they need to stay functional. Coincidentally, these resources primarily reside indoors. However, they lack the ability to easily answer fundamental questions, or what seem to me to be fundamental questions about their resources and assets, like are they underutilized? Are they overutilized? When's the last time they got maintenance? By who? When will they next require maintenance? And so we see really that the current system is inefficient, if not broken. 2/3 of organizations in the US still rely on some combination of pen, paper, CAD drawings, and Excel sheets to really connect their dots and manage their indoor resources. Now, the research from the National Institute of Standards and Technology reports that this methodology of managing your space this way is, of course, time consuming, but also costs organizations up to 33 cents per square foot per year. Besides being expensive, there's a few challenges and problems organizations can face when managing their resources this way. Just to name a few, you usually end up with, dozens of data sources and formats. These data sources and formats really are just incompatible with your project-based files that store all this building information. And of course, it's constantly costing the organization time and money throughout the operations maintenance lifecycle. And before I dive a little deeper on an overview and some architecture, it brings us to the final poll of what a team are you currently supporting within your institution, whether it's facility management, IT, utilities, safety and security. just to kind of get an understanding of what group it is that you're in. Since ArcGIS Indoors is meant to be scaled as far and as long as you want, unlimited scalability, it really should be used in every single department at every level. And there's different ways that different departments can use it, so this will help us, help you better in the long term. Let's give everyone about 30 seconds or so to answer this poll, and we'll continue. Facilities and operations, nice. It's what we like to see. Some utilities, that's awesome. Few people from IT, and I would love to know what the others are. Very interesting. Nice mixed group of people. All right. And so ArcGIS Indoors is this geo-enabled system for smart workplace, smart campus, smart institutional operations. And just a few of the things that we usually touch on with Indoors is first this notion of creating a common operating picture, which that allows you to improve service delivery. It allows you to offer better safety and security, and of course, heightened situational awareness. So let's take a look at a few examples and some use cases, and then we'll jump into a demo. So first use case for ArcGIS Indoors that I'd like to talk about today is wayfinding. ArcGIS Indoors allows everyone that interacts with your space to have turn-by-turn directions indoors and outdoors across your campus. The directions can be to an individual space or an office, or an actual point of interest like a utility asset. ArcGIS Indoors gives them and all the staff the ability to use their mobile devices to find their way. Not only the mobile device, but also from the computer via the web app like you are seeing on the screen now. Now, speaking of staff, another use case is using ArcGIS Indoors to manage your assets. Since Esri is an enterprise software platform, you can integrate third-party systems like ServiceNow, IBM Maximo, or Infor, among others, into ArcGIS Indoors. So this really enables all your facilities and service technicians to have a common operating picture of your space and use a spatial tool to really understand their work and start understanding their next task and the proximity to their next service ticket. And so each asset, of course, lives in a space. And so that brings me to the next point of space management. You can build space utilization dashboards, which we will take a look at the indoor floorware dashboards in just a minute. But you can use and build these space utilization dashboards to analyze how space is being allocated and leverage real-time occupancy data as well as historical data to start understanding how to efficiently use the space that you already have. Now, adding the ability to monitor real-time data, this can give you insights into the best way to manage your building. And supporting student and employee mobility is extremely valuable. And so this is now allowing, campus IT and operations teams to facilitate this internal mobility by making campus information widely accessible for many things, like was already mentioned, wayfinding, navigation, finding your assets, your resources. And so by supporting, staff, students, and visitor mobility, you're enabling a better connected and informed campus environment. With this, we usually see a better monitoring of security and more continuity. And so by providing campus security, complete visibility of historical as well as real-time device tracking data, they can now start planning for events in a better way and know exactly where staff is in case of an emergency. And so you are able to then also identify gaps. So maybe, you're having a big event and you see that there's a large gathering of crowds and you just need to deploy some people there, or someone reports an incident. You'll be able to see exactly where that incident is being reported, who is the closest security personnel, and send them the appropriate route to the incident so that they can get there in an efficient and timely manner. which ties into increasing our planning productivity. So making all of this data accessible to your campus planners, for instance, will dramatically increase planning productivity as well as effectiveness, and also by improving work order visualization and tracking, as well as different systems integration, we can really start seeing a common picture of our space and start making more informed decisions based on this real-time and historical data streams that before we just weren't able to gather. And a great way to view all this is through indoor dashboards. And so for those of you who have used or currently use Operations Dashboard, you can now track the same metrics you would outdoors, but indoors. So these can be things like space occupancy or dwell time analytics. But also you can track the efficiency of work orders. So how many work orders did we close in this certain section or in this building or in this floor, of what type? And then you can start identifying gaps. So maybe you're not closing enough of one certain amount of work orders. You can start seeing why and start answering those critical questions to make your institutions more efficient. So to summarize, ArcGIS Indoors brings GIS inside buildings, and it provides wayfinding for people, assets, and even specific rooms or points of interest. And it supports smart buildings by mapping indoor floor plans to support operations and asset management. It is a complete indoor mapping and location enterprise system. And so quickly, I'd like to jump into a demo here. Without further ado, this is the University of Maryland, like Jack pointed out. And so we can start taking a look at this map and scrolling around through it. Switch. Yes, we can scroll around through this map, and you can see they have all their buildings mapped out. And on the left, you'll see a search layer. So we can search, for instance, the Kim Engineering building, quickly associate and see where it is. We can turn on different layers, like knowing where, the buses stop or the shuttles, and get some more information on that. Emergency phones, or if someone reports an emergency on Engineering Drive, we can quickly get information or visibility on the situation without having to send someone there by integrating with our CCTV feeds. And so now I'll take it to our Redlands campus. So this is our headquarters here in Redlands, California. And we can start exploring our campus here through this Explore pane, either people, places, and things, floor by floor, as well as in 3D. And in this case, we'll take a look at the safety and security assets. These assets, of course, can be pre-configured to show whatever your safety and security assets. In this case, we're showing fire extinguishers, AED devices, and emergency exits. And you can see that everything is located by proximity to where we are. And so this, it'll take 15 minutes to walk to that fire extinguisher. But in this case, someone reports that fire extinguisher 420 needs to be inspected, so we can easily locate that and share that asset location with the person charged with doing their inspection or the maintenance. Once we send that off, they can open it up on their mobile device, and it pins them directly to where that asset is. They can just swipe up on the screen and quickly get information about that asset, category type, the name, the location. So then we can find ourselves in our area where we are, because we are enabled with indoor positioning systems, and quickly generate a route to the next fire extinguisher that needs to be inspected. This will give us, turn by turn and landmark navigation, as well as the distance, how long it'll take, and also the estimated time of arrival. Once we get to the asset, we can kick off a 311 form. So survey 123 is baked into the indoor system, and we can just start filling in some information. Of course, these surveys and these 311 forms can be pre-configured. This is a firefighting equipment, and it also allows for speech to text. And so we can say that this needs further inspection. We can take a picture of the asset directly from our phone, or we can upload one if we took it earlier, and then send it off. So just to summarize, this is really a way to operationalize all of your data. Bringing all this data into a common platform, ArcGIS Indoors, that you can view this data in 2D and 3D. You now have access to this common operating picture, so you can see, where are my assets? Are they okay? What should I do? Do we need to replace them? We can locate ourselves and get a route generated so that someone who is servicing the fire extinguisher, for instance, can know exactly where it is. We can also file 311 forms in a very easy way, and it will auto-detect where you are. You can take a picture and send it away. So now when people report things, your forms are organized in a way that are, of course, not only organized, but in a way that are understandable and easy to access. And so how does this all work, right? Component-wise, ArcGIS Indoors comes with everything needed, all bundled together to utilize all the capabilities. And so we start here with our workplace feature layers. This could be CAD or BIM files, however format you have them, Revit, and we bring them into ArcGIS Pro with our Indoors Pro add-in that has geoprocessing tools that really help streamline the creation of all of these feature services and maps. Then this information starts living in our Indoors information model, where we can also integrate with third-party data, such as work order management systems, asset management systems, or incident management systems, where then this data is all stored here, creating this common operating picture, and can be viewed through our applications, the web applications and the mobile applications. Since we're on the topic of the applications, let's take a closer look. So ArcGIS Indoors provides a wayfinding web application that can run in 2 modes. It can run as a kiosk from a touchscreen monitor or tablet device that can be placed at a reception area for visitors, for instance, or it can be run from a mouse or touchpad computer for organization occupants to use. It supports a lot of things, and some of them we saw in that demo. Just to quickly go over them again, searching for points of interest or a floor plan location, such as an office or a building. We can do category exploration of indoor locations, such as restrooms, emergency exits. We can generate these indoor routing directions, indoor as well as outdoors. We have integration with Survey 123 to report indoor maintenance incidents, and we can share the locations with another user. Of course, you will have the ability to brand the colors and logo of the application to fit your organizational branding. And of course, all the forms and different things for the applications could be configured to your liking. Next, let's take a closer look at the mobile applications. So Indoors also offers a native iPhone and Android application for indoor wayfinding, location sharing, and incident logging while on the go. And it supports many of the same features as the Indoors web app with some added functionalities and capabilities. For instance, with the mobile application, you'll have the ability to select from different maps shared to you within your organization and download them directly into the phone. You will have the ability to interface with indoor positioning systems to show the users exactly where they are on a map. And you have the ability to report the device's location back to a geo event server or feature service for device tracking, as well as different alerts, proximity alerts, things like that. And last but not least, a feature that I really enjoy is the integration with the user's calendar and an organizational events calendar in order to show where indoor appointments are located and route to them. This feature is actually a really nice one that I like to use. I constantly have meetings throughout the whole campus in different buildings, and my Indoors application sends me a notification, hey, Marco, it'll take you 6 minutes to get to your next meeting that's located in building M, and so you should leave by this time to make it there on time. And so I know Jack likes to use that side of the app as well, but it really keeps us on track and on time, and really enables us to work in an efficient manner where we don't have to worry about these things anymore. And since the mobile applications are indoor position enabled, let's quickly touch on indoor positioning systems. And so, we're all used to getting that blue dot through GPS. And I'm sure a lot of you see that when you go into an indoor space and open your maps, that blue dot becomes very large, it's inaccurate. And another flaw is that through GPS, you're not able to get floor information. So the device, if you're using GPS, wouldn't know if you're on the 5th floor or the 1st floor, for instance. And to take care of that, we support displaying the user's current location on an indoor map via Wi-Fi indoor positioning or Bluetooth beacon indoor positioning. So that's pretty much a high-level overview of Indoors, a system, the use cases. And so before opening it up to a Q&A, I'd like to quickly touch base on how we're seeing a lot of our users have success in getting started with ArcGIS Indoors. And that'll be our ArcGIS Indoors pilot program. And so this pilot program provides an indoor-ready hosted environment, if you will, where basically we take care of absolutely everything and all the heavy lifting that would be required to get started, where you will just be able to use the deliverables and not have to worry about anything else. And really, there are 3 different flavors to our pilot. The basic one, well, the indoors essentials would be no IPS, so no indoor positioning systems with this pilot program. The indoors basic will include a Wi-Fi based indoor positioning system, and the indoor standard will include a beacon based indoor positioning system. Both the basic and the standard, we will deploy the beacons for up to about 400,000 square feet of space. We will take care of all the data conversion. We will take care of all the infrastructure and all the environment setups. And so, like I mentioned, you don't have to worry about anything. We'll jumpstart that for you, if you will. And so what are these things that we will take care of for you in the pilot? First and foremost is the infrastructure. This is an enterprise deployment where you will get Enterprise 10.7 with Portal, Geo event servers, and a few added components where we can set up and deploy this infrastructure either on Esri Managed Cloud Services or on your prem. Then we move on to the second part, which would be the data, where for the pilot program, our Esri Professional Services will do a data migration for up to 10 floor plans. We will make sure to get all of the points of interest in there. We will create all the indoor to outdoor networks. We will create different tracking zones. And so we'll basically take care of all the data manipulation that would be required. If you decide to go with a pilot flavor that includes IPS, there are 3 parts to this IPS deployment. First, we do a building assessment and a beacon placement plan. Once that is agreed on, we will go ahead and do the beacon deployment for about 400,000 square feet. And then once those beacons are deployed, we will go ahead and survey that space. What that does is it basically creates a coordinate system for the inside space. So the device is able to triangulate your position and provide you an accurate blue dot experience. And then last but not least, we will deploy and configure all of the maps and applications. So we will create one external and one internal facing map. The external will be used for visitors to interact with, either via a public web application or a kiosk that gets stood up. We will also include a 55-inch touchscreen monitor to place at an area of your liking so that people can interact with it, visitors and people that aren't familiar with that space or don't have access to the web or mobile application. And of course, we will deploy all 3 applications that we spoke about. And so that pretty much wraps it up. Jack, if you want to kick off the Q&A.
Yeah, that sounds good. Thanks a lot, Marco. So we got a few questions coming in. One is, are there templates for this? And I believe that was tied to ArcGIS Indoors. So Marco, I'll start with this, but anything you can add. So within ArcGIS Indoors, as Marco pointed out, there's configurable web apps and a mobile app that are packaged with the ArcGIS Indoors product. And then ArcGIS Pro is a system used to kind of host that campus content, including network creation and pushing out to those configurable apps. Anything to add to that, Marco?
Yeah, that's good. And so the basic answer is yes, right? This is an out-of-the-box solution where would require a few things to get started, but no coding of any type of applications. And so with the Indoors licensing, we do have the templates for the 3 applications: the web app, the kiosk, and the mobile application, so that once you get all your data into this Indoors information model, these applications know exactly where to pull the information from and how to display them. Of course, they can be those templates can be configured to your liking, but we would include templates so that you don't have to code any of these applications for sure.
Excellent. Thanks, Marco. And another question we have is, how does the system know what floor you're on? And I know that there's kind of a two-part question in a way. So, one of that floor awareness is based on the Z value to understand kind of the vertical placement of where floors are and assets within a building. So that's not just, talking 3D, that's also within your 2D building floor plan. So being able to identify, even if you're doing 2D routing, or if you're trying to identify where a particular asset or an office is, on a static map, that's a way to have that floor awareness. And Marco, maybe you can give a little bit more detail around the IPS side.
Yeah, so that all starts with the IPS, right, with their indoor positioning system. And Esri is a one-stop shop for anything that you would need, and so we will be able to deploy and install all the hardware necessary for the solution. But basically, once you deploy those beacons, you configure those beacons and tell them, okay, these set of beacons are on this floor. And so basically it knows when you're moving floor to floor because it's constantly communicating with the beacons. And so it'll show you, this floor aware positioning of where you are. Does that make sense, Jack?
Yeah, that does. Thanks, Marco.
Okay, awesome.
Sounds good. And I think that, those were kind of our main questions that we got as far as around indoors.
Yeah, I see one that came in about the pricing model for indoors. And so, like I mentioned, indoors is it's unlimited scalability around indoors. All the components required for ArcGIS indoors come included, and that's including, the enterprise portal, geo event servers, and so on, survey 1, 2, 3. And so it's a pricing model that is priced by square feet. So depending on how much space you want to map out, it will reflect a different price. So it's priced by square feet.
Thanks, Marco. And in addition to indoors, as Marco mentioned, it's an enterprise product. And I noticed, in one of our earlier polls on this webinar, there were some questions around enterprise. A lot of institutions or folks on the call either weren't sure that there was enterprise GIS being used, or there wasn't any at all. So I just want to kind of open up a little bit about what enterprise GIS is versus maybe online, what you're using currently. So a way to look at it is it's kind of like ArcGIS server and online combined, either being an on-premise or virtualized environment. So what you get with that, what you get with enterprise is ArcGIS server, you get portal for ArcGIS, you get ArcGIS data store, which lets you configure data storage for hosting and across federated servers used with your deployment. And then also ArcGIS Web Adapter, which allows you to integrate your ArcGIS server and portal for ArcGIS with your existing web servers and your organization security mechanisms. So it allows for a really secure environment and something that, it's not necessarily a big change from online, but it is something that does require, a team to kind of manage and host. And that's why it's always good to contact Esri, because we do have jump starts, but we also we've been through those deployments and implementations enough to where, we can help kind of move you in the right direction, whether that's pointing you to training or getting you set up with a business partner. So we're happy to do so. If any additional questions around enterprise, feel free to send me an email to chat more about it. And with Marco, any questions around ArcGIS indoors, pricing or how that might fit into your current workflows at your institution.
Yes, feel free to reach out.
Yeah, and it looks like we have a few other questions that came in as I was talking, Marco. So I don't know if you can see the questions coming through, but
you want to just say them out loud if they're indoors related?
Yeah. So this one is, would the IPS system utilize my Autodesk Revit model for location data, or would I need to pay to have those assets located again in our system?
Okay, so Revit's really nice to work with, because with Revit files you already have all those kind of points of interest, and let's put all the assets or resources inside this points of interest bucket. And so when you bring that Revit file into the indoors information model, you manipulate that data in a way that the indoors information model knows which ones are assets and where they are located, so that they will be displayed, in these applications, right? The answer is no, you wouldn't need to remap all of those points of interest. It'll just require some data manipulation to make sure it fits in correctly to the indoors information model. And then if you want to just locate them on the map, then that will take care of that. If you want to maybe track moving assets, then we can connect, whatever type of tag you're using that asset has to the indoor positioning systems and to show that real-time location and movement of that asset on the maps. Did that answer the question, Jack?
Yeah, thanks, Marco.
Okay.
And I also like to point out that when it comes to any Autodesk files, whether that's CAD or Revit, we've actually kind of created a collaboration working between Autodesk and Esri to where more tools, and especially with ArcGIS Indoors being one of them, kind of moving from your CAD files or your Revit files into Indoors or other solutions, basically ingesting that data into GIS. We have a lot more translation tools and ways to kind of automate those processes that's just a lot easier than it's ever been. So I just like to point that out. As things move forward, there's that continued relationship with Autodesk and Esri going forward.
Yes, that's a great point to bring up. It's been really exciting times ever since we were that relationship between Autodesk and Esri.
Absolutely. Great. So I think we may be able to give a little bit of time back to everyone here on the call. We'd like to thank you for joining us on this webinar. And as I mentioned, any other questions that you might have, feel free to, we have our emails here on this last screen here. So feel free to reach out for any questions, anything kind of, smart campus engagement, enterprise deployments, I can answer, and Marco for any questions around ArcGIS Indoors. So we definitely work very closely together. So happy to help, move you through that process or have those early stage discussions.
For sure. And just wanted to add, I think, Jack, both you and I are kind of very passionate about, everything that we're doing here and really seeing the success of these users really, energizes us. And so, even if it's not specifically for Indoors or something, feel free to reach out. We're more than happy to help, at least, provide as much guidance as we would be able to. And so let's just, have those conversations if this is what you're thinking about making your institution or your campus a smarter one.
Absolutely. No, thanks a lot, Marco.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone, again, for joining the webinar. We look forward to continuing the conversation. For those that will be at CFTA, myself, Rich Waddell from the education team, as well as Pat Wallace from the ArcGIS Indoors team will be on site. We have a few sessions. We have a booth there. So definitely come by and say hi if you're going to be there in Austin. We look forward to seeing you there, or, just talking over the phone. But yeah.
And like you mentioned earlier, Jack, this webinar was recorded and it will be posted online. So if you wish to go over it, feel free to reach out, and we'll be more than happy to share where we're storing all these webinar recordings.
Yep, sounds great. Thanks
Awesome.
again, Marco. And
thanks
you,
everyone,
for hosting the webinar and getting our poll questions going. So appreciate that, and hopefully talk to everyone else again soon. Thanks.
Yep. Everyone have a great day. Thank you so much for joining today.